I stood there in the middle of the Riverside Convention Center, 200 faces staring at me, and walked straight down the center aisle while the CEO was still mid-sentence. 35 years of service, and they couldn't even get my name right on the plaque. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The banquet hall account I'd opened the day my daughter Sarah passed away. That's where this really starts. September 19th, 1998. She was 26 years old, and Tommy was only 3. Car accident on I-5. Some drunk driver crossed the median at 2 in the morning. Sarah was coming home from her night shift at Swedish Medical Center. She was a pediatric nurse. She was everything. Tommy's father, Derek's brother, had been gone since before Tommy was born. Just disappeared one day when Sarah was 5 months pregnant. No note, no calls, nothing. So when Sarah died, it was just me and Tommy, 3 years old, asking where his mama went, and I had no good answers. I was 51 then, working as a senior systems engineer at Pacific Aerospace in Seattle. Good job, decent pay, but not exactly rolling in money. Sarah's life insurance covered the funeral and not much else. I looked at Tommy that night after the service, asleep in my guest room that would become his room, and I made a promise. Your mama wanted you to have everything, little man. So that's what you're going to get. I started small, cut back on everything. The boat I'd been saving for, sold the plans, never bought it. The fishing trips to Alaska I used to take every summer, done. My Seahawks season tickets I'd had since '91, let them go. Every penny that wasn't rent, food, or utilities went into 2 accounts: Tommy's future and keeping us afloat. Pacific Aerospace noticed my work ethic. Of course they did. I was pulling extra shifts, taking on projects nobody else wanted, staying late, coming in weekends. In 2003, they offered me a director position. 30% raise, corner office, the works. Just one catch: relocation to our Huntsville facility, Alabama. Think about it, Robert. Jim Patterson, the VP, told me. This is the big leagues. You deserve this. I looked at Tommy's school calendar on my fridge, his soccer schedule, his friend Jake's birthday party next month. He was 8 years old. He'd just lost his mother 5 years ago. I appreciate the offer, Jim, but I need to stay in Seattle. Robert, opportunities like this don't. I know, but my grandson needs stability more than I need a promotion. They offered again in 2007, again in 2011. Each time, bigger title, more money. Each time, I said no. Tommy came first, always. The projects I did take on, though, I poured my soul into. Satellite propulsion systems, fuel efficiency modifications. In 2008, I developed a valve mechanism that reduced fuel consumption by 11% in our commercial satellite launches. Saved the company $24 million over 3 years. Got a decent bonus, some recognition at the company meeting. All of that went into Tommy's college fund. By 2015, I had nearly $180,000 saved. Tommy was about to graduate high school. Top of his class, 3.9 gigapascals, heading to University of Washington for mechanical engineering. Following his grandpa's footsteps, he said, that made me prouder than any promotion ever could. That's also when Derek Morrison joined our team. Derek was 42, came from Lockheed Martin with impressive credentials and an even more impressive ego. Charming guy, I'll give him that. Great with presentations, knew how to work a room. Within 6 months, management loved him. Within a year, he was leading projects I'd been on for a decade. Robert, Derek's going to take point on the Aurora satellite modification, Jim told me in early 2016. You'll be supporting, of course. We value your experience. Supporting. After 12 years developing that system, but I nodded. I was 63. Retirement was on the horizon. I didn't need the glory. I just needed to make it to the finish line. Tommy thrived at UW. Sophomore year, he called me every Sunday. We'd talk about his classes, his girlfriend Rachel, his internship applications. Junior year, the calls became every other week. Senior year, maybe once a month. He was busy. I understood that. He was 22, building his life. Then he graduated, Landed a position at Tesla in Fremont, California. Good kid, smart kid, making $95,000 right out of college. I was so proud. Tommy, remember that college fund? I told him at his graduation dinner. Just the two of us at Ray's boathouse, overlooking the Sound. There's still $40,000 left after tuition and everything. It's yours. Down payment on a house, maybe? Or, Grandpa, you should keep it. You've done enough. Your mama would want you to have it. He smiled, but something was off. Sure, Grandpa. Thanks. The calls got less frequent after he moved to California. Once a month became every 6 weeks. Then every 2 months. I told myself it was normal. He was 23, 24. Building his career. Young people are busy. Meanwhile, Derek was climbing. My valve mechanism I'd developed, Derek optimized it in 2017, made some modifications to the design I'd laid out, presented it as a revolutionary new system, got promoted to senior director. The fact that his optimization was literally step 3 of my original development plan that I documented in 2014, nobody mentioned that. In 2019, I started working on what I called Project Evergreen, a complete reimagining of our thermal management system for deep space satellites. 5 years of work, thousands of hours, nights, and weekends. This was going to be my legacy project, the thing I'd be remembered for. Derek noticed. Robert, this is fascinating work, he said, leaning over my terminal one evening in 2020. Mind if I review your documentation? I might have some insights. I should have said no. I should have protected it. But I was 67 years old, tired, and honestly, I just wanted to finish it. If Derek's insights could help, fine. He didn't offer insights. He offered theft. Over the next year, Derek took my documentation, my prototypes, my test results, and started presenting them as collaborative work. Then as primarily his work with my support. Then, by late 2021, as his innovation that I'd helped implement. Derek, this is my project, I told him directly, in March 2022. I've been documenting every stage since 2019. This is my design. Robert, you're stressed. You're coming up on retirement. Why don't you let me handle the heavy lifting? You've earned your rest. I went to Jim Patterson. Jim, who I'd worked with for 30 years. Jim, Derek is taking credit for Project Evergreen. This is my work. I have documentation going back 3 years before he even touched it. Jim sighed. Looked at his computer screen, then at me. Robert, you're what, 69 now? Retirement next year, right? Derek's got another 25 years with this company. We need to think about succession, about who's going to carry these projects forward. Is it really worth fighting over who gets credit? It's not about credit, Jim. It's about truth. Truth is you're retiring and Derek is staying. That's the truth that matters for Pacific Aerospace's future. I walked out of his office knowing I'd lost. Not the battle, but the war. I had 14 months until my retirement date of June 15th, 2023. I'd endure. Tommy called me in August 2022. First call in 3 months. Hey, Grandpa, how are you? Tommy. Good to hear from you, son. How's Tesla treating you? Actually, I'm calling about something. I got engaged. My heart swelled. Tommy, that's wonderful. Rachel? No. Rachel and I broke up 2 years ago. This is Madison. You haven't met her yet, but you will. We're planning the wedding for next May, May 20th. I'm hoping you can make it. Of course I can make it. I wouldn't miss it for the world. Great. I'll send you the details. It's going to be in Napa Valley. Madison's family has a vineyard there. Sounds beautiful. Tommy, I'm so happy for you. Thanks, Grandpa. Oh, and one more thing. Madison's dad, well, he's been really great. Helping me with some career stuff, networking, you know. He's a director at Rivian. Got me an interview there, actually. That's kind of him. Yeah. He's been like a mentor, you know? Kind of a father figure. Something cold settled in my chest. A father figure. Yeah. I mean, not to replace you or anything, Grandpa. You know what I mean. I did know what he meant. And it hurt more than I wanted to admit. The wedding invitation arrived in October. Formal, expensive-looking cardstock. Madison Chen and Thomas Robert Patterson, May 20th, 2023. Napa Valley Estate Winery. Black tie optional. My retirement party was scheduled for June 15th, 2023, just a few weeks after the wedding. Perfect timing, I thought. I could celebrate with Tommy, then close out my career. December 2022, Derek unveiled Project Evergreen to the board. Presented it as his innovation, his vision, his 5 years of work. I sat in the back of that conference room and watched him take my legacy. The board approved full implementation, $500 million contract with NASA. Derek got promoted to vice president. I didn't fight it. What was the point? 360 days until retirement. I could last 360 days. Tommy called me in February 2023. Grandpa, about the wedding. Madison's dad, Robert Chen, he's offered to help with some costs. He's being really generous. That's kind of him. If you need... No, we're good. Actually, we're more than good. Robert's covering most of it. He said he wants to make sure Madison has her dream day. Well, that's very generous. Yeah, he's an incredible guy. Honestly, Grandpa, meeting Madison's family has been eye-opening. They're so supportive, so involved. It's nice, you know? I knew what he wasn't saying. It's nice to have that, since you weren't. Except I was. I was there for every scraped knee, every school play, every soccer game, every science fair. I was there when his mother died and his father abandoned him. I was there every single day for 19 years. But I wasn't a director at Rivian. I didn't have a vineyard in Napa. I didn't have the luxury lifestyle that Robert Chen could offer. May 20th, 2023. I drove down to Napa Valley, 8-hour drive from Seattle. But I made it. Beautiful venue, rolling vineyards, perfect weather. The wedding was elegant, expensive, everything Madison wanted. I found my seat, table 12, in the back, near the bathrooms. Table 1, front and center, had place cards for Madison's family. Her parents, Robert and Linda Chen, her siblings, her grandparents. Table 2 had Tommy's groomsmen and their dates. Table 3 through 11 were various friends, colleagues, Tesla people. Table 12 was overflow. Me, some distant cousins on Madison's side, and a couple of people who looked as confused as I felt about why we were there. The ceremony was beautiful. Tommy looked happy. Madison looked stunning. When the officiant said, "Who gives this woman to be married?" Robert Chen stood up and said, "Her mother and I do." Big applause. Nobody asked who gave the groom. Nobody mentioned that the groom's family was sitting in the back by the bathrooms. The reception was worse. Tommy and Madison did their first dance. Then Tommy danced with Madison's mother. Then Madison danced with Robert Chen. They invited fathers of both bride and groom to the dance floor for a song. Robert Chen walked up confidently. I started to stand. Tommy looked at Robert Chen, smiled, and the two of them danced to Forever Young, while Madison and her mother watched with tears in their eyes. I sat back down. Dinner was served. Speeches began. Madison's maid of honor spoke about their friendship since kindergarten. Tommy's best man, some guy from Tesla I'd never met, told inside jokes about their office antics. Then Robert Chen stood up. "I want to take a moment," he said, "to talk about this remarkable young man, Tommy. When Madison first brought him home 2 years ago, I saw something special. I saw drive, I saw intelligence, but more than that, I saw someone who'd overcome so much. Tommy lost his mother at a young age. He had a difficult childhood, but he persevered. He put himself through college, built a career at Tesla, and became the man standing here today." I felt my jaw tighten. Put himself through college? Tommy, you've become like a son to me these past 2 years, helping you with your career, watching you grow, being there for you. It's been one of the great privileges of my life. You've shown me what it means to be resilient, to build yourself from nothing. I'm honored to welcome you into our family. The room erupted in applause. Tommy was crying. Madison was crying. Linda Chen was crying. I was standing up. I didn't plan it. My body just moved. I stood up, chair scraping loudly against the floor, every head in the room turning to look at me. Robert Chen stopped mid-sentence. Tommy saw me. Our eyes met, and I walked out. Down the aisle between the tables, past the string quartet, through the main door, into the parking lot. I got in my 2008 Toyota Camry, and I started driving north. My phone rang 7 times before I hit Sacramento. I didn't answer. By the time I got to Oregon, I had 23 text messages. I didn't read them. I got home to my small house in Ballard at 2 in the morning. Sat in my living room, looking at the pictures on the wall. Tommy at age 3. Tommy's first day of kindergarten. Tommy with his soccer trophy. Tommy at his high school graduation. Tommy at his college graduation. Not a single picture of Tommy with Robert Chen, because Robert Chen wasn't there. I was. I was there when Tommy had nightmares about his mother. I was there when he struggled with algebra in 8th grade. I was there when his girlfriend broke his heart in 11th grade. I was there when he didn't get into Stanford and thought his life was over. I was there. Put himself through college. Built himself from nothing. From nothing, I built my career from nothing. I raised my grandson from nothing. I sacrificed everything for 19 years. Promotions, opportunities, my own dreams, all of it. So Tommy could have a future. And in Robert Chen's speech, I didn't exist. 19 years, erased in 5 minutes of someone else taking credit for the man I'd raised. Just like Derek taking credit for the work I'd done. My phone buzzed. A text from Tommy. Grandpa, what was that? You embarrassed me in front of everyone. Call me. Not, are you okay? Not, I'm sorry. Just, you embarrassed me. I didn't call. 3 weeks later was my retirement party. June 15th, 2023. Riverside Convention Center in downtown Seattle. 200 people from Pacific Aerospace. Management, engineers, technicians, people I'd worked with for 35 years. The slideshow played behind the podium. Pictures of me through the decades. Young Robert in the 1,980 seconds with big glasses and bigger hair. Middle-aged Robert in the 2000s at various project launches. Recent Robert at company events. Jim Patterson gave the opening remarks. Talked about my dedication, my years of service, my contributions. Then Derek Morrison took the podium. I want to talk about innovation, Derek said, his voice carrying through the sound system. About what it means to push boundaries, to imagine new possibilities. In my 8 years at Pacific Aerospace, I've had the privilege of working on some incredible projects, but none more exciting than Project Evergreen. The screen behind him showed the thermal management system. My thermal management system. 5 years of my life. This project represents the future of deep space satellite technology. When I started developing this system in 2019, I knew we were on to something special. But it took years of refinement, thousands of hours of testing, countless iterations to get it right. He didn't mention my name once. I want to thank the team that supported this vision, the engineers who believed in it, management who funded it, and especially our retiring colleague Robert Patterson, who provided valuable implementation support during the final phases. Implementation support. The audience applaud. Derek smiled at me. That sympathetic, condescending smile that said, "You're old. You're done. Just accept it." Jim Patterson returned to the podium. And now, we have a special presentation. Derek, as our Vice President of Advanced Systems and the innovative mind behind Project Evergreen, would like to present Robert with his retirement plaque. Derek held up the plaque. Expensive wood, engraved brass plate, in recognition of Robert Patterson. 35 years of dedicated service. Pacific Aerospace Corporation, 1988 to 2023. Not a mention of my innovations, not a mention of my projects, just service. Like I'd been stamping papers for 35 years instead of engineering systems that saved this company hundreds of millions of dollars. Derek walked toward me, plaque extended, that smile on his face. I stood up. 200 faces looked at me, and I walked out. Same as the wedding. Chairs scraping, heads turning, confused murmurs. I walked down the center aisle while Jim Patterson stammered, "Robert? Robert, where are you?" I pushed through the doors and didn't look back. My phone rang within minutes. "Jim Patterson." I answered, Robert, what the hell was that? That was 35 years of work being handed to someone else, Jim. That was my legacy being stolen while you all applauded. Robert, you're being dramatic. This is about the company's future. No, Jim. This is about theft. Derek didn't develop Project Evergreen. I did. I have 3 years of documentation proving it. He copied my work, took my designs, and presented them as his own. And you let him, because he's younger and I'm expendable. Robert, I'm done. Mail me my retirement paperwork. I'm not coming back. I hung up, blocked his number. Tommy called that evening. Grandpa, Jim Patterson called me. He said you walked out of your retirement party. That's accurate. What is going on with you? First the wedding, now this? Are you having some kind of breakdown? Tommy, let me ask you something. Do you remember who paid for your college? Silence. Do you remember who drove you to soccer practice 3 times a week for 6 years? Who helped you with your college applications? Who sat with you in the hospital when you broke your arm in 10th grade? Grandpa, I. Your mama died when you were 3 years old. Your father abandoned you before you were born. I raised you. Me. Not Robert Chen. Not anyone else. Me. I gave up every promotion, every opportunity, every dream I had so you could have a future. And at your wedding, Robert Chen said you built yourself from nothing. From nothing, Tommy. Like I didn't exist. He didn't mean it like that. Then how did he mean it? Because I was there, Tommy. I heard him. He took credit for raising you, for supporting you, for making you who you are. 2 years he's known you. 2 years compared to my 19. And you let him say it. You danced with him instead of me. You cried when he called you his son. Where was my dance, Tommy? Where was my speech? You're being unfair. No, I'm being honest. And here's more honesty. That $40,000 I offered you after graduation, the money left over from your college fund, I donated it, every penny, to the Sarah Patterson Memorial Scholarship Fund at UW, for engineering students who've lost a parent, kids who actually remember who raised them. You what? I'm not funding the life of someone who erased me, Tommy. I did my job. I raised you, educated you, launched you into adulthood. That was my promise to your mother. It's done. Grandpa, don't call me for a while, Tommy. I need space. I hung up. For the second time in 3 weeks, I sat in my house, surrounded by pictures of a person who didn't seem to remember I existed. The first week of July, I got a call from the head of Pacific Aerospace's legal department. Mr. Patterson, we need to discuss Project Evergreen. There's been a development. I'm retired. Talk to Derek Morrison. That's the problem, sir. Mr. Morrison's implementation of the thermal management system has encountered a critical flaw. The stress tests NASA conducted last week showed a failure point in the valve mechanism at extreme temperature fluctuations. They're calling for a complete review before moving forward with the contract. I closed my eyes. I knew about that flaw. Of course I knew. I documented it in my 2021 notes. Phase 3 testing had revealed it. My solution was in Phase 4, but Derek had never bothered to read that far. He'd taken my Phase 2 designs and declared them complete. Mr. Patterson, we need your expertise. Can you consult on... No, sir. This is a $500 million contract. Then you should have valued the engineer who actually developed the system instead of handing it to someone who didn't understand it. Derek wanted the credit. Derek can fix it. Mr. Patterson, please. I'm retired. Good luck. I hung up. 3 weeks later, the news broke. NASA suspended the Project Evergreen contract pending investigation. Pacific Aerospace's stock dropped 12%. The board called an emergency meeting. Derek Morrison was terminated for providing incomplete and inaccurate project documentation. The real reason, I learned through a former colleague, was that when they dug into the project history, they found my documentation. All of it. Every phase, every test, every solution, time-stamped and filed properly. Derek's innovations were revealed as incomplete copies of my work. Jim Patterson called me. I let it go to voicemail. Robert, it's Jim. I owe you an apology. We found your files on Evergreen. Derek had been presenting your Phase 2 work as a complete system. You were right about all of it. We'd like to bring you back as a consultant to complete the project properly. The board approved a $15,000 monthly consulting fee, full benefits, whatever you need. Please call me back. I deleted the voicemail. August 15th, Tommy showed up at my house. Didn't call first, just knocked on the door. I almost didn't answer, but I heard Madison's voice too. Grandpa, please, we need to talk. I opened the door. Tommy looked terrible, exhausted, like he hadn't slept in days. Madison looked uncomfortable, standing slightly behind him. Can we come in? I stepped aside. They sat on my couch. I sat in my chair. I've been doing a lot of thinking, Tommy started. About the wedding. About what you said. And you were right. Robert Chen's speech. It wasn't fair to you. The way I treated you that whole weekend, it wasn't fair. Madison and we've been talking. And Madison interrupted. Mr. Patterson, I need to apologize. My father can be enthusiastic. He gets excited about people, and he tends to overstep. What he said at the wedding? About Tommy building himself from nothing. I know that's not true. Tommy's told me about you, about everything you did for him. Has he? Tommy leaned forward. Grandpa, I was wrong. I got caught up in Robert's world. The money, the connections, the lifestyle. It felt good to have someone like that interested in my career, wanting to help me. But I forgot. I forgot who was actually there, who actually raised me. And that's on me. I looked at my grandson, 26 years old now, still young, still learning. Tommy, I'm not angry that you connected with Madison's father. Having mentors is good. Having people who support your career is good. What hurt was the erasure. Robert Chen stood up at your wedding and claimed credit for raising you, for supporting you through your difficult childhood, for making you who you are. And you let him. You didn't correct him. You didn't acknowledge me. You cried and called him your father figure while I sat in the back by the bathrooms. I know. God, Grandpa, I know. I was so focused on impressing Madison's family, on fitting into their world, that I forgot where I came from. You didn't forget. You chose to hide it. There's a difference. Tommy's eyes filled with tears. You're right. You're absolutely right. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Madison spoke up. Mr. Patterson, after the wedding, my father kept talking about Tommy's difficult past. I finally asked him what he meant. He said Tommy had been raised by a struggling single grandfather after his mother died. Like it was some tragic Dickensian story. He made it sound like you were barely keeping food on the table. We had food. We had everything we needed. Exactly, Madison said. So I asked Tommy about it. Really asked. And he told me about how you gave up promotions to stay in Seattle, how you worked extra shifts to pay for his college, how you never dated because you were focused on raising him, how you taught him to fix cars and do his taxes and cook basic meals, how you went to every single one of his soccer games, even the away games 3 hours away. That's not a struggling guardian. That's a devoted parent. I didn't say anything. Tommy wiped his eyes. I've been an idiot, Grandpa. A complete idiot. Robert Chen's great, but he's not you. He didn't raise me. He doesn't know me. Not really. He knows the successful Tesla engineer. He doesn't know the kid who had nightmares about losing his mom. The kid who struggled with reading in 2nd grade. The kid who didn't make the varsity team and thought his life was over. You know that kid. You were there for that kid. I was. And I erased you. At the most important day of my life, I erased you. I don't know how to fix that. I looked at them both. Young, well-meaning, but still learning how the world works. Tommy, let me tell you something about credit, about recognition. I just spent 35 years at Pacific Aerospace. I developed systems that saved them hundreds of millions of dollars. And at my retirement party, they gave that credit to someone else. Someone who copied my work, claimed it as his own, and got promoted for it. So I walked out. Jim Patterson called me about that, Tommy said. He told me what happened. He said Derek Morrison got fired. He did. But that doesn't give me back those years. Doesn't change what they did. What are you going to do? Nothing. I'm retired. I'm done fighting for recognition from people who don't value me. Madison looked confused. But you have proof, right? Your documentation? Can't you? Sure. I could fight. Could hire lawyers, make a case, demand credit. Maybe even get a settlement. But you know what? I don't need their validation anymore. I know what I built. I know what I contributed. That's enough. Tommy shook his head. That's not fair, though. You deserve. Life isn't fair, Tommy. You're 26. You're learning that now. Sometimes people take credit for your work. Sometimes the people you raise forget you raised them. Sometimes the people you love erase you at important moments. That's life. The question is, how do you respond? How did you respond? I walked away. From Pacific Aerospace, from the consulting money they offered, from all of it. Because I don't need their validation. I know my worth. Tommy was quiet for a long moment. Then, I don't want to be Robert Chen's son. I want to be your grandson. Something in my chest loosened. Not much, but a little. You've always been my grandson, Tommy. That doesn't change. What changes is whether you remember it. I'll do better, I promise. I nodded. We'll see. They left shortly after. Madison hugged me goodbye, whispered thank you for raising such a good man in my ear. Tommy hugged me too, held on longer than usual. After they left, I sat in my living room and looked at those pictures again. Tommy at 3, Tommy at 8, Tommy at 18, Tommy at 22. I'd done my job. I'd kept my promise to Sarah. I'd raised him, educated him, launched him into adulthood. Whether he remembered it, whether Robert Chen took credit for it, whether anyone acknowledged it, I'd done it. That had to be enough. September came. I got a letter from Pacific Aerospace's new CEO. Formal apology, recognition of my contributions to Project Evergreen, offer to restore consulting engagement. I filed it away without responding. October, Tommy called. Grandpa, I have news. I'm leaving Tesla. Oh, Robert Chen got me an interview at Rivian. Director-level position, huge raise, but I turned it down. I was surprised. Why? Because I don't want a career built on someone else's connections. I want to build something myself. Actually, myself this time. I'm joining a startup in Seattle. Smaller company, smaller salary, but it's mine. My work, my career, my path. And I'm moving back to Seattle. Madison got a nursing position at Swedish Medical Center, same hospital where my mom worked. That's a big change. Yeah, but it feels right. And Grandpa, I'd like to see you more, if that's okay. Regular dinners? Maybe you can meet us for coffee. I don't know. Whatever works for you. I don't want more years to pass where I forget who was actually there. I felt that tightness in my chest loosen a little more. I'd like that, Tommy. Good, because I need your advice on something. The startup's developing electric aviation systems, and I remember you saying you worked on propulsion systems for years. I thought maybe you could take a look. Tell me what you think. I could do that. Thanks, Grandpa, for everything, for raising me, for not giving up on me even when I gave up on you. I never gave up on you, Tommy. I was just tired of being forgotten. I know. I won't forget again. November, Tommy and Madison came over for Thanksgiving. First Thanksgiving I hadn't spent alone in 3 years. Madison helped me cook. Tommy told stories about his new job, asked my opinion on technical challenges they were facing. At one point, Madison's phone rang. She looked at it, declined the call. My dad, she explained. He's been calling a lot lately. Everything okay? I asked. She exchanged a look with Tommy. He's upset. About Tommy turning down the Rivian position. About us moving to Seattle. He feels like we're rejecting his help. Tommy added, he told me I was making a huge mistake, that I was throwing away my future out of some misguided loyalty to the past. And what did you say? I told him that loyalty to the people who raised you isn't misguided. It's called being a decent human being. I smiled. First real smile in months. December. The Pacific Aerospace Board sent another letter. Project Evergreen was back on track. They'd implemented my Phase 4 solutions. NASA approved the contract. They wanted to publicly credit me as the project's original architect. I thought about it for a long time. Part of me wanted that recognition, wanted the world to know I'd built it, not Derek Morrison. But another part of me was tired of fighting for credit, tired of proving my worth to people who'd already shown they didn't value me. I wrote back, "Thank you for the recognition, but I decline. Project Evergreen can move forward without my name attached. I'm content knowing I built it. That's enough." Tommy came over the day I sent that letter. "You're really not taking credit for it? After everything?" "No." "Why not?" I showed him the pictures on my wall. Tommy through the years. "Because I learned something, Tommy. The only recognition that matters is from the people who actually matter. Pacific Aerospace doesn't matter anymore. What they think of me doesn't matter. But you? You matter. Madison matters. The life you're building matters. That's where I'm putting my energy now." That's pretty zen, Grandpa. That's being 70 years old and tired of fighting battles that don't matter. Tommy hugged me. "For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. For walking out of that retirement party. For standing up for yourself. I wish I'd had that courage at my wedding. You were 26. You're learning. That's okay. Still, I admire it." Christmas Eve, we had dinner at my house. Tommy, Madison, and me. Simple meal, nothing fancy. But it felt right. "Grandpa, Madison and I wanted to tell you something," Tommy said over dessert. "You're pregnant?" Madison laughed. "No, not yet. But we've been talking. When we do have kids, we want to make sure they know their history, their real history. About their great-grandmother Sarah, about how their grandfather was raised by his great-grandfather who gave up everything to make sure he had a future." "That's nice." "And," Tommy continued, "I've been working on something. The startup I joined? We're developing new propulsion systems for electric aircraft. I filed my first patent last week." "That's wonderful, Tommy. I dedicated it to you. And to my mom, for Sarah Patterson, who taught me kindness, and Robert Patterson, who taught me everything else." I couldn't speak for a moment, just sat there, old man tears in my eyes, looking at my grandson who finally remembered. "Thank you, Tommy." "No, Grandpa, thank you." We sat there, 3 people around a small table, and it was enough. More than enough. The pictures on my wall, the years of sacrifice, the moments of being forgotten and then remembered, all of it led to this. A quiet Christmas Eve dinner with my grandson and his wife, planning their future, honoring their past. I'd kept my promise to Sarah. I'd raised her boy, and despite some detours, despite some moments of being erased, he'd turned out okay. That was my legacy. Not Project Evergreen, not 35 years at Pacific Aerospace, not any of it. Just this. A good man who remembered where he came from, and that, finally, was enough.